Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where three guys come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And X-Man.
What's up, guys?
So this week, we're just going to pretend like, again, a little while ago, that all that didn't happen for me, and the fact that I didn't have a podcast update. We're just going to keep on trucking. And so I'm going to go ahead and give Stoney his moment to shine. What's your topic this week?
Angels and demons.
Angels and demons, huh?
And I have a story.
That sounds heavy. I was going to say there has to be something.
It's actually cool because I have one of those sitting on each of my shoulders right now.
Nice.
Both of them devils?
Nope, but depending on what you say going
I thought
forward.
I was listening to the angel on my shoulder, and it turns out it was the devil, and he was just a great ventriloquist.
Wow.
Speaking of demons, how have you been, Stoney?
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow, we're starting off strong, I see.
We don't need to go like that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I was going to ask, I was like, what's your story you got going on here?
Yeah, I want to hear the story, too.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of years ago, I moved back from Florida, and I went to work for a man who owned a metalworks company, and he had kind of done something, probably shouldn't have done it, and one of the employees got really, really mad and rammed through a gate and with his truck and hit him in the head with the gate and crushed his skull and flipped him upside down, flipped him over, and he was lying in his own blood, drowning.
Yikes.
He had lost that much blood. And I had come running down the stairs and saw everything. There was probably about 10 people around at the time, other employees and some people from around the area. And I have because of my past, I have a little medic training, and I literally
What
froze.
does that mean?
I literally froze. And so I'm looking down at this man, and I care about him, and he's very important to me, and he's drowning, and I freeze. And all of a sudden, this lady in kind of an off cream white walks up to me and just looks in my face and says, "Focus." And I'm still not focused. And everybody sees this lady because they're looking at her talk to me. And she gets closer to my face and screams, "Focus." And I still am not there. And then all of a sudden she gets about an inch from my face and just at the top of her lungs yells, "Focus." And as soon as she says that, a veil was lifted over my eyes. I looked down at my friend. I knew what to do. She disappears. Everybody there saw it. And I knew what to do to save his life. Get to the hospital, and it's against what the doctor said, but had I not done what I did, he would have died.
Wow.
And so I believe, and everybody else believes, that this was an angel sent to get me to do the right thing and know what to do.
Okay.
Wow. Oh, that's heavy.
That is a
Whoa.
crazy story.
So my question to y'all
question?
is, I know we all believe in angels, but to what extent? And
Right.
demons? And what is their role in the world today?
Wow.
Wow.
That is crazy.
Wow.
Oh, I got him quiet.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Hello.
All right.
Have I done something here?
Wow, yes.
What?
Yes. Where do you
Do
go
you
from
believe in
there?
them first? How about that?
Yeah.
Well,
I
first of all, I kind of wish that we still had that angel here sometimes to
Right.
look at him and say, "Focus."
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding, Stoney. I honestly,
I wish I had an angel in my face and just say focus when I needed to.
Yeah. I wish I had an angel back in school who would just shout out the answers.
Right. Yes, exactly.
A, B.
Yeah, focus.
No, that's an amazing story, and who am I to say it couldn't happen? I mean, that's that's just. Like you said, there were eyewitnesses.
There were eyewitnesses. There were
Right.
people there that saw her appear and disappear.
Wow.
So when you say they saw her appear and disappear, was it an awareness of her presence, or did they literally see her disappear?
For me, it was an awareness of presence.
Okay, so she just kind of was there, and then
Just
she
was
wasn't.
there and wasn't.
So you didn't really see her walk off, or She didn't like evaporate. You just
if you knew where it was,
Yeah.
there was no place to walk off. There was no cars. There was no place to walk off. It was just there or not.
Yeah. If a person was to walk away, you could probably still catch her.
It'd
but
be
she's
like
gone.
a quarter of a mile. You
You're
could
right,
watch
yeah,
them and wave
yeah,
to them. But
exactly.
there was none of that.
Okay.
It was just here and not there.
Okay, so, dude, I'm all in on this one with the whole angel thing, and I'll tell you why. Now, ordinarily, I might look at something like this, just being who I am, and I might say, I might have to call a little BS on you here, but I can't do that, and here's why. I was on a little weekend retreat with a bunch of my friends from Texas, and we had gone out and we had rented this place at a lake called Possum Kingdom.
Whoa!
It's one of the largest. It's one of the largest lakes in all of Texas, and so it's a huge lake. It's a man-made lake, but it's huge.
Right.
Well, I had this place that I love to go and stay normally at the marina, but they didn't have cabins available, and so this friend said, y'all stay out at my lake house and all that. And so it's got direct TV, it's got satellite, it's got everything that you need.
All the stuff.
So, So I went out there, and I will admit, we did maybe a little party.
Right.
When we did party that night. But my bed, I could see where I was sleeping. I could see into the living room. And my friend, she was laying on the sofa sleeper. She had pulled out the bed, and her boyfriend were laying on the sofa sleeper. And so we all went to sleep, but I mean, it was like the party sleep,
Right.
Well,
You're
at some
passing out.
point, my eyes open and it's pitch black. I mean, it's so dark, but I'm peering through, and there's enough light coming in through the window that I can see the sleeper sofa, and I can see my friend Autumn. And I swear on a holy stack of Bibles, there was a presence floating above her, and it had long hair.
Wow.
And it was very ethereal, and it was very flowy.
Wow.
And it was hovering right over her, parallel to her, and its face was looking down at her face, almost like it was breathing with her or something.
Yeah.
And then it turned and looked right at me, and its eyes were dark and its mouth was dark, and then it disappeared. I watched it evaporate.
Right.
So what kind of party was this?
I don't know, but man, it must have been a good one.
I'm just saying.
But I'm going to tell you how scared I was. I got so scared that I got up out of bed. I was freaked out. My skin was literally crawling because I was freaked out. And I went immediately, unfortunately, down a very dark hall to a bathroom and flipped on all the lights because I was personally scared. I terrified, scared. And I slept in the bathtub that night. I got in the bathtub and I slept there because I was so afraid of what I saw.
Yeah.
And so the next morning,
especially because you're in like a cabin on a lake, probably in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, all of a sudden you see
in an unknown house,
this banshee come up and you're like, I'm out.
Right. So, so that's what happened to me. And so ever since then, I have kind of been a believer of some of this stuff. And I'll tell you another weird thing that happened is that the next morning, that same friend was the first person I saw because she had to pee.
No way. Wow.
So she's the one who woke me up.
Get away from me.
So, and then I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, and I told her, I was like, I have a story I need to tell you, but I'm afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
So I may wait until we leave.
And also,
because we had a couple more nights. We had just gotten there.
Did you see anything else?
You definitely got to say
anything else show itself.
I will tell you this. There was another thing that happened.
Wow.
And so later, maybe that day or the next day, I can't remember, but we had gone on ATVs. They had left some ATVs out there, and they told me where the gas cans were to gas them up.
Yeah.
So I put gas in the ATVs, and we went riding out. And I swear to you, on this property, there was a small graveyard. It was only like 4 or 5 graves.
Nice.
I was so freaked out. I was like, oh my God, and so kind of weird that that people were buried there. And then I'm seeing this kind of stuff. So that is my weird story. And I would just like to affirm my brother Stoney and say, man, I'm in. I'm in with you. I think
so.
That
would that be an angel or a demon?
because it helped someone, I'm going to say angel.
Okay.
And as far as what I saw, though, it could have been either, because I don't know what it was doing. It was floating over her, and that was weird to me.
Right.
Like, it was kind of like, and then the way it looked, it didn't look like an angel.
Right.
Like, it looked like a demon. Like, because the eyes were black, and it just looked like black formless sockets,
Oh, yeah, right.
And so, I mean, it freaked me out, y'all. I mean, I'm
getting
goosebumps just talking about it because it was so real.
Yikes.
And so, anyway.
So is it a separation of angel and demons and phantasma?
So for me, this is where I come into play. I don't believe, again, because I haven't experienced it personally. I believe that obviously if I was to experience something for myself, that could change. I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, like of former people. I do believe there is like a spiritual something that is around, and it could be bad or good, and I think it's at play a lot of times, and I think sometimes it can probably take the form of stuff that I think we're familiar with, just like with, dogs and pets, you put like a personality on them, even though there is not. And I think that's kind of the same thing. There's like things happen in this world, and I think there is something around that probably toys or plays around with us in some way. And of course we just associate it with like, people, I guess. But if I could tell a story, the one and only time I have had a sleep paralysis was while I was in Canada, and it was probably at one of the lowest points of my life. It was I've talked about this before a little bit. I was just in a really bad spot mentally and emotionally and everything involved, and I've never had sleep paralysis. I've never really had sleep problems ever. Maybe slept talked here and there every once in a while. But there was one time in particular, I remember laying on my bed, like in the incorrect orientation. So obviously, normally what you think sideways.
Okay.
Up against the wall with my head on a pillow, and I was like kind of drifting off a little bit. And my girlfriend at the time was like playing some video game next to me. And just to put things into perspective, where I was laying at was directly facing like the door that exited the room into the hallway.
Okay. Was she the right way?
No, she was also the same way I was.
So
we're kind of sitting next to each other. We had like a TV in the corner, and here's the door.
Okay.
To kind of put things into perspective. So
you're oriented towards the door. She's oriented towards the TV.
Right, yeah. But it's still on the same wall, though.
Right.
And this was like the only time that I have like seen some otherworldly thing, and was like, if there ever was some evil thing or spirit or of some kind, some demon, whatever you want to call it or name it, that was the time for me that I felt like I was like, there is something evil here. And again, I, with my religious self, I kind of equated it to other things that I'll get to later. But like me drifting in and out of sleep, there was this point in time where I felt like I was awake still, because I could hear the commotion of the video game, and I was like just sitting there, and I felt like I was drifting off. But there was a point in time where, this is where it gets crazy, and it's probably dream logic or whatever. The hallway, so where I'm looking at the door, the hallway extended to the left if the TV's on the right. So the hallway went down a pretty good ways, but there was just a wall there. There's no window, there's no nothing. It was actually, I think, a closet or something. And I swear to you, as clear as day, that there was some black figure, all black, tall, and was just this presence that gave me so much dread. And I'm
Did
telling
you see it move, or what did it do?
He was walking down the hallway and going to come into the door, and that gave me that sense of impending doom. Like, I saw him walking.
He saw a shadow figure.
And was like walking down walking down the hallway at like a pretty brisk pace, and was going to come into the bedroom. And the only thing I could think of was, I have to protect myself and her. I don't know why, don't know what, but I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything, and I felt like I wanted to speak or shout or to say something, and I felt like I was trying to, but nothing was coming out, and it was just this sense of like, and it all feels very fast, but also drawn out. It's that kind of weird in between stage where it's like it probably only lasted a few seconds, but it felt like 3 or 4 minutes. And then like I just remember like snapping out of it and like waking up and like coming back to reality. My heart was racing. I had I had an adrenaline rush where I was shaking and like freaking out. And my girlfriend looked over at me and was like, "You were like mumbling and frantically, like you were like being a little frantic for a second. I thought something was wrong. I thought you were like not doing okay, whatever." And I was like, "I can't talk about it right now, but like I just witnessed something and I got to go out for a walk. I just got to go somewhere." And it was like later at night, and it was like I need to get some fresh air, because it was just it was a really weird scenario, and I've never had it happen since then. And I honestly do attribute it to a lot of like what was going on around me and the people I had in my life, and that presence of like, I don't know, I had a very bad outlook on all that was around me and everything. And to be honest, I was probably open and susceptible.
So like after that happened, did some changes start in your life? Did you realize it's time?
It was that, and then like stuff that quickly happened after that was like the downfall of me wanting to leave Canada because of the people I was around.
So maybe an angel was sent to you to help find your focus.
Or a demon was sent to crack me back into shape. Because I think that's, for me, it was...
Well, a demon's not going to come to crack you back into shape. He's going to come to divide and conquer and
devour you.
But I think that, again, what I'm not saying that that was their intention. I think that if that was a demon of some kind and their intention was to get me of some kind, I think that, like I'm saying before, like my religious background and probably my understanding of what's going on, I think at that point, realizing how lucky I probably got out of it, I was like, oh no, this is like a scared straight moment where I was like, I don't think that it or him or whatever was intentionally trying to scare me back into shape, but I just think I was probably open to something like that and was just, it walked us away in, and I was like, I got to get out.
A number of the main religions believe in angels and demons.
Right.
Bruce Lee believed that in his process, that the day you are the very best that you can be, your demon comes for you.
Right.
And if you don't defeat it, it comes for your children.
Whoa.
And he was filming a movie, and, everybody talks about the day he died. There was absolutely nothing wrong with him.
Right.
And then so many years later, that demon came and got his son in a completely freak accident.
Wow.
So do demons come, and do they possess people on this planet?
So I'm going to make it a mission.
Right.
One of the things I do in my real world life is consider such things, the natures of evil and the natures of good. And so I'm going to say this is my experience with it, because I have many years of witnessing these different kinds of things play out in the lives of real people. And so I'm going to say this. I really do believe that there is a spiritual dominion.
Right.
I really believe that dominion manifests itself both good and bad.
Okay.
I believe that those manifestations take on many, many different forms. And we dismiss some of them.
Right.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And so I believe that probably the denomination or group that most understands kind of that might be Catholicism, because they really do step into situations that are very evil.
And I'm kind of glad you said that, because Catholicism, the exorcism program of the Catholics is really the only true faith-based process that they have.
And I have to say, I think a lot of it's very legit. I really do, because I think that it's very easy to sit there and discount things, but I just told you what I saw.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And you just told me what you saw.
Right.
And so for me, that perception is my reality. And so you can sit here and say, I didn't see it all day long, or that you don't believe in it. And I really don't give a shit, because I did see it.
That's right.
And so,
awesome.
I, So that's how I feel about it. But I will say this: these manifestations, things like Amityville Horror, haunted places. I think that's a real thing. I think that there are things that become haunted, pianos and old things, because I think that attachments take place. I think that in ways that we cannot possibly know or understand, things happen in that spiritual realm, and we just don't know.
Right.
Just like people say they know, what happens after we die. Bullshit. You never die.
Nobody knows.
So stop saying that stupid stuff. Like you don't know. But I think that I can think that we can have faith and all of that stuff, and I think that's a great thing. But to make a claim like that, I don't think you can really make that claim. But I will say this. I truly believe with all of my heart that evil has real, true power in our world. The dominion of evil, whether that be the devil with a pitchfork, or whether that be demonic forces, or whether that be some kind of unexplainable evil nature, a natural phenomenon that's supernatural, and I think that has real power. But I absolutely also 100% believe that there is a supreme and sovereign goodness over all of that, that overcomes it. And I do not believe that evil can ultimately prevail or win against it. Now, that may sound optimistic to some, but the reason why I say that is because I have by far greater experience witnessed that.
Yeah.
In its manifested forms.
Right.
And so I have seen the spiritual manifestation of good far more than I've seen the spiritual manifestation of bad. Right. So that's my claim. That's what I'll say about my experience.
The only thing I was going to add was that
this is good. This is perfect. I love
with most things like that, it also gets hard for me sometimes to believe what is true and what is not, when again a lot of times they sensationalize it, where it's like, it's like, oh, this is haunted, and then of course they play it up where it's like there probably is something there, but at the same time it's like sometimes it's hard to really believe when there's just so much stuff that's like all fabricated.
But you also come from a generation that doesn't believe anything.
Because it's
I'm not taking a shot there. I'm really not taking a shot, but it's kind of true.
Yeah.
You don't believe.
I can create anything I want in Photoshop and in Premiere and make it look real. So it's
a deep hack and you'll never know.
Exactly.
So.
See, our drugs were probably the best out of all of these generations, and so I'm going to say we created half of those fears that are evoked in your life. But I will say this. I think that it's kind of interesting. You were talking about the hype that we give it. I'm assuming Hollywood's part of that.
Probably so.
And I will tell you one thing: if ever I see one of those creepy, fast crawling people that are jointed, I'm done. I'm going to be like,
you and I will be
just
right.
Take me.
Right. I think we'll both agree on that. I'm out too. So, there's
I can't stand those creepy things. You know what I'm talking about? Like their head goes the opposite direction and they crawl up the wall and they're fast and they're humans. I cannot stand that. I don't think I like spiders either. Maybe because of that. So anyway, do y'all have any one thing that you're super creeped out about? Like the evil.
I told y'all mine in the last episode. Oh yeah, that was it. But in my life, I have seen true evil.
Yeah,
true evil.
Yes,
and in my twilight years, my faith in God and things like that have completely changed my perspective on that.
Yeah,
because I have seen the worst in people. Yeah. Absolute worst.
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, it's admitted in you look at the text of a religious text like the Bible or the Quran or all of those things, they all have accounts of possession. They all have accounts so a lot of times they'll try to explain that stuff away. Oh, they just didn't medically know what that was then and that kind of it was epilepsy or is this no.
Some other stuff there,
not some of the stuff that you're reading about people living in the grave, yard and all no, that's not. And pigs jumping off of hills and because they're getting the demons thrown in. So it's kind of like no, that's not that's not natural.
And I think that's what I was getting at initially is I have in certain scenarios I haven't witnessed an exorcism, but I've been in like certain church environments where like there has been some miracles happen that I was like, I know these people, and I know it's not fake, it's not a show, and I'm witnessing something that's happening that I cannot describe. I can't explain what's going on here, but that person's better from whatever they like, from their physical ailment or whatever it was. And I was like, that's impressive and amazing. And it's like, you want to talk about, encouraging someone's faith. But then again, like you were saying before, I think there's this dark side that is also, around, that is ready to, and I think that's where I was coming from with my situation, is at that time I was not in a good place with my faith and everything like that. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the people I was around and the circles that I was running in and the things that I was allowing into my life and was just okay with, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if I was just like prime target number one.
Like a magnet.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Because again, I still thought I was a good person. I was still trying to be, doing everything right that I could by people. And then, I don't know, it just was like I said, that was that moment for me where I was like, I got to start being firm on no nonsense kind of stuff.
The greatest trick in the history is the devil convincing people that he did not exist. Is that part of our social media and movies and TV series now, where you have shows that portray the devil as, this
romantic
glamorous victim type person who's just struggling through life. Is that part of what's going on in entertainment?
I guess sells
today?
A bunch of movies,
yeah.
Sells a bunch of tickets.
Fear sells a lot.
Downloads.
Yeah. But also got like, you sell your soul to the devil and become the most famous singer in the world. That's like a very popular thing.
Well, the neat fact to that is
all that kind of is like,
you don't own your soul. It's impossible for you to sell it.
Right.
So a lot of people fall into that fallacy. You have these groups that, worship Satan, and, they think they're doing all this,
Here's something that's kind of on my mind about what we're talking about is why are we so quick to dismiss the experience of so many other people? Is it because we don't want to talk about it? Is it because we want to avoid it? Is it because, why would we be so quick to dismiss the actual experience of other human beings?
Yeah.
That's this, we kind of touched on this a little bit in our alien episode early on.
Right.
Why are we so quick to look at people who, this isn't just one or two people, it's thousands of people with these experiences and encounters. Why are we so quick as people to discount that or to pretend like they didn't really see what they saw, or they didn't understand what they saw? Why do we kind of put ourselves like intellectually above that? Like we're, our opinions about it matter so much. These people had the experiences, or they wouldn't waste their time talking about it.
They wouldn't come out and say it, fearing rejection.
Who wants to spend their rejection
ridicule.
Capital on that? Yeah.
Right. I think the big thing is with most things in the world, it's all about being wrong. Or the fear of being incorrect about everything.
I think they're scared that the fact that they're actually right about it. I think that they tuck tail and run because they just can't process it or don't want to process it.
And I think that goes for both sides.
So let's just pretend like
religious
it doesn't exist.
Or not religious people. I think it goes for both sides. Like you have
because if you have to admit it and you're a non-religious person, now you have to admit that maybe I ought to have been a religious person in the first place. Because if you believe in the devil, you kind of have to believe in God.
I think it also goes down to like even like political stuff or this other stuff that happens like in your life. It's like the same reason why you can have an argument or an idea of an argument and really start to like debate about it until you get to the point where you're like, this person's like proving a pretty good point, and I think I may be wrong in this situation, but instead I'm going to double down and then really just like bury the hatchet and that I'm wrong because I'm just going to stand on this hill and die, even though now, to be honest, I don't believe in it anymore.
Are you talking about the people that voted for Joe Biden?
Oh my God!
I'm just saying, is that what they're doing now?
Whoa! But even with little stuff and with big stuff, I've known friends, and I even caught myself in that act. I'm pretty sure we all have.
Sure.
Is that we were like, I don't know. You just get to a point where you're like, I don't want to. I don't think you logically say that, but you definitely feel it in your heart. You're like, I don't want to admit that I'm wrong in this
You've
situation.
invested so much
Yes,
in that side. I don't want to. Yeah,
I've already spent an hour talking about it, and so help me God, I'm just gonna keep going.
Well, I think with all of this stuff though, I don't mind the debunking. I
Right.
really don't. I think there's a great use for that. I think that it does kind of cut through some of the baloney and kind of the fake stuff.
Right.
And I'm down for all of that. But there's still a whole bunch of stuff that can't be explained.
Oh, exactly.
Absolutely.
And so that hasn't been debunked.
Right.
And then there's just some stuff that actually has been proven.
Yeah.
And nobody understands why. And I think we're so uncomfortable when we don't know why.
Right.
You know, like it's just a fact of our human nature. And so here's what I'm going to say about this. I think that this all plays out with evil. In a sense that it makes us uncomfortable. We don't like it because we don't want to accept that it's true. We get nervous. So we just as soon pretend like it's not there. It doesn't happen. But I think that in our senses, in our deep sense of being as creatures, I think we know there's some truth to it.
Right.
I really do. Or we wouldn't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
But we are innately afraid.
Right. Yeah.
And so we know fear, we know evil when we encounter it because it makes us scared.
Yeah.
And that's wired into us. But here's the other thing. So is good. Mm-hmm. And so here's what I'm going to say to our fans, and you may not agree with me. This is strictly from my perspective as a person who has faith, is that also works for good. Just because you can't explain it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so you can live your whole life and pretend like there's not sovereign good in the world, but then you have a real long list of stuff that has happened that is completely unexplainable, that is very well documented,
right,
that you're going to have to contend with. And so you can turn your eye on it and say, oh, that doesn't exist. But just because you say that doesn't mean that that's so. In fact, it's kind of foolish because it's so well documented and there's so many thousands of years of testimony that you know, you're really kind of it's just kind of foolishness to sit there and write it off. Yeah. And so, in my opinion, you know, I think we do this not just for bad. Unfortunately, I think we do it with good as well.
So does our growing intellect, because early on in the Middle Ages and things like that, it was easy to say, this bad thing happened, it was the devil, or this good thing happened, it was God. And we could just quickly put it to those two things.
Yeah.
So are we becoming too intelligent to where we don't recognize these things or don't believe them because it's just too simple of an answer? You know?
I do think that like technology and stuff like that and modern medicine and everything like that has made, has really paved a way for like the
man God.
or just like the lack of faith in some capacity of like, oh, you can just go to this thing and then fix the problem or whatever. Or again, like I said, there has to be a definition or a description for everything. So it's like there's always a name. There's always some sort of name or criteria of thing or of something or another. It's like regardless of what it is, like, you know, whether it's good or bad, like I still think that, I don't know.
I think it's totally contingent on what you believe the source of good and evil actually is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so, you know, for a lot of people, you know, storms that come through.
Right.
And destroy communities.
Yeah.
They blame God.
Mm-hmm.
But if you read the religious text, that's incompatible with God, and so it wouldn't make sense that's that. But then you realize that we live in a broken world and in a broken creation.
Well, God did send storms.
So
the flood.
So I will say that you are absolutely right that the earth was destroyed by rain. and flood, but there was also a promise to never do that again. So I think that we have to say that there's a sovereignty over that. God can stop things, prevent things from happening.
But that,
for sure,
that promise only came to the Christians.
But that's like saying that God is at fault for that. That was not God's fault.
No.
That was humanity's fault, because that the text says strictly that there was absolutely no good.
Yikes.
It was all bad all the time. So if you read that text, that's what it says: all bad all the time.
Right.
And so, except for one family.
Right.
And so one man and his family. And so those are ancient, tales that exist in pretty much all of the religions. Right. And they're all kind of told in similar ways. But, not to get too religious about it, but I want to say, that angels and demons, I think that we encounter them far more frequent than we consider.
Right.
I agree.
I think that can also manifest itself in your thoughts, and in your space. I think it can. I think that it can be in. I think that those things can talk to you like voices in your head. People describe them as that.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you're just walking around. Randomly making up.
Right.
I think.
And then another thing too also comes into fact of like, what's to say that you're not, I'm not saying this like you're being possessed in a scenario like that, but like, what's to say that you're not somebody's angel in a particular moment?
I agree. You can be.
I'm not saying that like the person that you encountered, Stoney, wasn't like a real person, but like I've heard of scenarios, and I wouldn't be surprised if like, I have been a person in that scenario that's like been a quote unquote angel for somebody that's like, either
but
going through
haven't you ever heard that kind of thing within you that said, go back?
Yes, exactly.
Or pick up the phone.
Right.
Or, you hear that stuff. I don't think it's just imagination running wild, or those aren't coincidences. Yeah. I think that kind of prodding and prompting is because we do. And I'll tell you another thing that I think is true is I believe, just like there are mediums that you see, and I know that some of them are fake and they're profiteering.
Right.
But I will also say this. I think that there are people with real gifts, and I do think that they make contact with a spiritual realm, and I do think that they represent that realm to us and us to the realm. And and that's, to me, that's kind of what mediums do. And I think mediums are a whole bunch of different people in different professions and stuff like that. And so I think that there's a lot of validity to stuff like that. And really it's because there we stand on the shoulders of many other spirits and people. So it also kind of depends. A lot of how you look at this, I think, really determines a lot of what you think happens next, too.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Well, we have one in our churchy place that we all kind of associate. I'm not going to say her name, but Miss D, in case you're ever listening. Miss D foretold Hottie Doctor.
Right.
She told me she was coming.
Yep.
She foretold that I wasn't supposed to buy the ring. That I was supposed to ask her to marry me and not buy the ring. And Hottie Doctor was like, oh, thank God. I thought you were going to buy me something crappy from Jared. She foretold the little churchy thing X-Man and I kind of got involved in, and even this podcast. So I believe in that also. Yep. And you have to wonder, is that an angel kind of communicating with her? Where's she getting that from? Because through history and biblical and other religions, people are spoken to by angels and demons.
Right. Yeah. I recently listened to a podcast of a bunch of guys. They are in the same realm of like the kind of crazy alien, spiritual kind of stuff like that. And they recently had said something, and it made me think of like what we're kind of talking about right now was is people being able to have some kind of like telepathic communication or something that we don't know about, or some sort of like other way of communicating like in that realm. And they were saying like they were kind of equating it to like that kind of when you get a weird feeling about somebody, or you have like a other stuff like body language and stuff like that, and how you can like really infer something from somebody as far as their presence, or I guess they called it their like aura or something like that. And I started thinking about it in like that spiritual aspect, because again, it's
discernment.
Yeah, it's like being able to, because I've met people even in my line of work that I've done in the past, where I've talked to pastors and people of religious standing or whatever, and I've seen them at work and having that like a discerning kind of thing, where it's like they're able to kind of really get something spiritually from somebody in a scenario with little to no contact. And it's like, I don't know, it just makes me think about that sort of stuff too. Like you're saying, like what all's at work here that we can't see, that we don't really know about, that like what, so there's a little something deeper there.
Yeah. But I think, even if you think about it though, when you're encountering other people in life, you judge that very quickly.
Right.
I mean, you can get a sense. I've just come into the presence of people and immediately not liked them.
Right.
Immediately. Like just their presence alone was disruptive to my energy and to and I've just known that whatever, I don't know you, I don't know what's going on with you, but I know I don't want it.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that that's more than just intuition. I think that there is absolutely a realm of consciousness.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about consciousness when we talked about aliens, and about that being a power of the future, and that actually being what propels us into other dimensions and times and things like that. And so I think consciousness is a big part of this. And I do think that the spiritual realm operates on different levels of consciousness than we do, but also the same.
So do children and dogs, are they able to see it better?
I don't know.
I think that why wouldn't they? I mean, they can see, they can feel earthquakes, or they can, they can, they can tell you whether or not they like you.
And that's what I'm saying.
Usually right.
Children know, and dogs know these things. They see these things because they don't have all of the crap that we've had in our lives weighing us down. Are they able to see these things a little bit better because they don't have all of that?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I agree. So I think we do put filters and barriers and all kinds of stuff up. Like I said, I think a lot of this boils down to avoidance. Just not having the energy to go there, or just it being easier to write it off than to face it.
Right.
There's too much evidence. Again, there's just too much evidence that would suggest it's real. To say that it's not.
Right.
And so, but I will say this too, like when I was dating, my wife, what I was grateful for was the fact that I felt like I had met an angel in a way.
Right.
And then when we got married on our honeymoon, she was a devil in bed. It was so good. Oh my God. It was
really.
I had you guys going so good. You should have seen the faces, man. You guys were like all in.
Only X-Man would go like that.
Yikes.
Feel sorry for his wife.
Man, I felt like I was hanging on every word there for a second.
You were. You're totally in. I just couldn't stand to keep you on that line any longer.
Sad. It's sad. Great conversation here, and he has to go to that level.
Come on. Yeah.
So, okay, you talked about people avoiding things. What about people who don't avoid it? Tarot cards, Ouija boards, and that's practicing Satanism.
That's that thing I was talking about before. Like whenever I was up in Canada like that, and the people I was around, it was very much a that kind of they were very forward thinking with a lot of like their outlooks on certain things and all that kind of stuff. But they were really big into like this recent it's becoming very popular now. It's kind of the new flavor of hippie kind of. It's like the
devil worship.
No. It's like the incense and the special crystals and the stones and the the moon powers it all. Like I think it's all cool, more power to you. But the people I was around were taking that to like a next level. It was like treating it like it was like a very special thing. The stars, the moon, all that kind of stuff. And that's where I felt like I was getting to that uncomfortable place for me where I was like, I think I'm opening myself up to some things that I'm not a big fan of.
Okay.
And I feel like, again, there's also people that have, like you were saying before, have gone into like a level of Satan worship or something like that, and they have their own testimonies of, you know, seeing things that are not pleasant and they are not happy with.
I know, the Ouija board and stuff.
Oh,
you know,
man. I know.
That kind of stuff just kind of freaks me out. And, you know, here's what I say. Like, I mean, I feel like when you choose to go down roads like that you kind of know the choice you're making.
Right.
You know that you're going to pull up next to darkness. You know that it's probably not, you know, that's probably not going to result in something good. And so I think you make a conscious decision on what you're going to affiliate with.
And I think that happens with a lot of choices in life. But I think because of what it is, like because of the fact that even though it's just a children's toy it's obviously a board game. It's nothing. I don't think intrinsically the board or the whatever else is all involved with it is evil or has some kind of spiritual connection, or whatever. But I do think it's what you do with it, and it's a tool of some kind. And I do think you're opening yourself up to stuff. You're allowing, like, you know. Intrinsically, the item isn't the bad thing, but it's the fact that you're sitting there and saying, like, I am open to, you know, whatever.
You're
it's
asking for it.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
sort of
you're,
like
you're
a subconscious allowance. Like, I'm going to allow something to come in.
And that could be
you're inviting that influence in your life.
But it could also just be with substance too. It's like if you're doing drugs or alcohol of some kind, it's like if you're opening yourself up to it, you better be prepared with what's going to happen. And then sometimes, you know, like, you know, or if you're in a scenario where if you're battling with that, you probably shouldn't put yourself in a scenario where you're going to be open to the, I don't know, like that's where I'm thinking when it comes to that kind of stuff. So it's like, I have really worried about it. I try to stay away from it because I'm like, no, thank you when it comes to Ouija board stuff, but you know.
So one of my favorite movies, I know we always seem to come up to movies, but this kind of ties into it, Stigmata.
Ooh,
never heard of it.
You've
Stigmata,
seen that.
yeah.
Gabriel
Stigmata
Bryan
is, of course, the
wounds of Jesus.
The wounds of Christ.
Oh, okay.
And so people have there have been recorded events and instances where people have experienced those wounds for themselves, including like the ones on the head, the nail scars in the hands and feet,
the spear,
and so the spear in the side, and so they've experienced a manifestation of those wounds.
Right. That's a great movie. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, it was really,
that's
really
on
deep.
your list, actually.
Oh, is that right?
For your other podcasts that
Mm-hmm.
you've yet to, broadcast or promote on ours.
Right.
But that's a great movie, and it just talks about, this is a girl who doesn't believe.
Right.
But now all of a sudden she's starting to gain the stigmata on her body, and it's a really, really good movie.
That's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
different.
Yeah, but what do you say about those people like Jesus is on their toast?
I don't know about all that.
The face of
mass
Jesus.
Hypnotism.
I
think you can see if you're
only
looking,
you would come up with that,
right? No, but I mean, if you can convince people of a lot of stuff. I mean, you can see things. And anytime.
I think there's even discussions about it or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like I think a lot of times there's a name.
It's actually weird. I'm sorry, but you kind of look like Jesus. That's the first time I've really noticed it.
No.
Yeah,
but there's
like white American Jesus.
Oh man, we definitely offended somebody. Is that I forgot what it's called. But there's like there is like the act of finding faces and things, and it is like there's a name. And I know probably there's somebody out there that's yelling at the radio, trying to tell me what.
All right,
it
if
is.
you know what that's called, make sure you write in.
Right, but it like again, it's just like again finding Jesus in toast or finding a Dorito chip that looks like Trump or whatever. It's like, well, it's just.
Dorito chip that looks like Trump.
Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that kind of stuff where it's like, I mean, if you squint your eyes and you turn your head, you're like, oh yeah, it looks like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
it's also like finding stuff in the clouds, or
right,
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I get you right, but that's now I want to know what the word is. Like I want to know what
Oh,
to call that.
Pareidolia.
Say that again.
Pareidolia. Yes,
Oh my
it's a
God.
psychological phenomena that causes people to see patterns in a random stimulus.
There you go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like also like looking at like the grill of a car, and you're like, oh, it looks like a little smiley face, or like
I'm just
tile
terrible
work,
at that stuff. I'm sorry. Those ones they send on Facebook. Like I never. They'll Instagram the little. Can you see? And I'm like, no, I can't see it.
Yeah.
And they're like, hold it closer, tilt it. I'm like,
Right.
I still can't see it.
Yeah,
Stare at the dot for 30 seconds.
Yes,
Close
exactly.
your
I'm
eyes.
stuck at
Do a
this.
backflip
Right,
and tell us
right.
what you see.
I mean,
all while holding your breath.
immediately my eyes glass over because I never get them ever. I can't
man.
find Waldo. I suck at it. I'm terrible.
Oh man, I'm gonna go as Waldo for Halloween this year.
You are?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
but like a hipster millennial Waldo.
oh
So
my
don't.
God.
Yeah,
No
don't,
shock there.
Wow.
don't mind me, guys.
So-
Anyways, but yeah,
Yeah, I think this was a good subject. Anybody
Yeah.
got anything else?
I think we're at the 51-minute mark. So I think
Oh,
we're
wow.
we're looking pretty good so far.
Hey.
That was a really, really fun topic. I think
Oh,
we should.
yeah.
That's the one we should circle back on sometime.
Yeah.
We've been
You
doing
know.
a couple of them that we need to circle back.
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
But if you notice, we're always finding another movie for.
No,
Yeah, I know.
podcast.
We're gonna make his list one
Yes.
day.
Always finding something else I don't know about.
I'll tell you this though. I'm so happy to say I think we offended at least half our listeners.
Oh, at least somebody.
And
All
you,
three of 'em?
And you totally offended Jared. So
Wow.
Oh man. Well, anyways, as always, we're always looking to offend new people, so let's all join together and get offended together.
we are an equal opportunity offender.
That's right.
But anyways, if you're looking for us, you can find Retrospect. You can type in all the major podcast platforms, or you can type in Retrospect Podcast.
And if you have a subject for us and you'd like to hear us
Yes.
discuss it,
we're
please
setting up a
please-
Facebook page.
Yes,
So you should be able
Facebook,
to-
Instagram. We're going to have a couple things come up that can help y'all find us and
Right.
communicate with us.
Exactly.
Use it. Talk to us. Let us know if you're offended.
Or as
Please.
Stoney calls it, the Instagram.
The Instagram.
the Instagrams. Anyways, until next week, bye-bye.
See ya.
Peace.